Hey guys, MC Stu here, and tonight I just want to talk to you a little bit about the state of the game, or I guess more specifically PVE, the parse logs, the DPS chase, kind of where that's at, some of the changes that happened that look like they were unannounced. I can't find anything official. But if you're unaware, there are quite a few queues that you can now queue privately, solo, or with a partial team. This has really kind of changed the dynamic in the way that I think people are going to be gauging their DPS to a certain degree. I don't want to say it's going to change it, but it's going to add to how people gauge their performance in the game and those kinds of things. And what I mean by that is, as I say in many of my videos, almost all of them, right, is this game's here to have fun. How you choose to play it is up to you, and if it's something I'm not into, who cares? That doesn't have anything to do with me. And you should play the game the way that you want to. Be it just playing through the stories, or role playing, or doing themed builds, or if it's DPS chasing, or if it's team play, or now solo play. So there's many different ways to go about playing this game and having fun, and whatever one of those ways makes you happy, then do that, regardless of what anybody else thinks, says, or any of that. I pick up on a little bit, here and there, obviously making videos and in the comments and watching other creators and things like that, there are some people, I guess let me start with, there are some people in the game that are, what are referred to as elitist, and they're at, the top of the charts or close to, and I'm not going to say any names, honestly, I'm not super familiar with all of them. I really don't find myself in the middle of any kind of drama or problems, because I really don't care. I play this game to have fun. And the way other people feel about either me or the way people feel about other people in the game doesn't really concern me whatsoever. But I do hear, people talking about people that, have this elitist mindset, and, they're doing massive numbers, and they're doing it through nanny runs. And it's not that, some of, my friends have a problem with that. It's that they're, they get talked down to because they're not doing those kind of numbers because they don't want to do nanny runs. It's not what they want to do. And I don't have any problem with anybody wanting to do nanny runs and get those massive numbers. That's what makes them happy. That's what makes them happy. What does that have to do with me, right? And so I think what it has to do with me, or whoever, are looking at these things and taking issues, is that when you look at the charts, anyone that is in the DPS chase is trying to get higher up on the DPS charts. If you're not into the DPS stuff, then, this really doesn't make any difference to you, really. Although I'll have some advice for you in terms of just, yourself, if you're wanting to be able to really gauge your builds and whether or not they're improving. The solo is going to give you a very nice ability to do that. And I'll just shift over and let's talk about that for a quick second. So with the solo stuff, if you have a build and you go into an ISA or ISN, I guess is how you'd say it, a normal queue, there's no variables other than you. There's no other teammates. There's no one to be doing a bad job, a good job, debuffing, not debuffing, going places maybe where they shouldn't, and spawning more ads, or, those kinds of things, right? So you can now do that solo and get a very good baseline every time, because the only variable in the run is you. So that's a real, nice thing there. So, but, back to what what I was discussing, in terms of, people having issue, I don't think it's so much that people have issue with the way that other people decide to play the game. It's that people that are doing the DPS chase only have one chart, and that chart those boards don't make a distinction between how you got those numbers, right? So if it was a solo run, if it was, a half team, three-man ISE, if it was an organized team with 2 tanks doing a split run, or if it was a straight up nanny run where the whole team is really kind of pushing one particular, member's DPS super high. The chart doesn't make any kind of distinction between that. I don't know anything about how the chart's made, or whether or not, that can be changed, or whether or not anyone's even interested in that. Again, I don't care, because I don't have anything to prove to anybody. I play the game to have fun. I like getting big numbers. Not a big fan of the nanny stuff, and mostly because I don't have a team that, you know, I can do that on a regular basis. I do have a team that we can do organized runs with a tank, control, and 3 DPS, and generally those 3 DPS and control are competing to see who can get the best DPS out of it, and that's the fun that we have between each other doing that. And, you know, others may not have, you know, groups that they can go in all the time at all. Maybe, you know, they're solo playing, which now these new solo queues, you know, I think will make that kind of nicer for them to be able to have a little bit more fun with it and be able to gauge, you know, how, you know, they're getting better at DPS chase, you know, with themselves, you know, maybe to a certain degree, if that's what they're into. Or, you know, maybe there's just 2 or 3 of you on together. Well, you can now queue up for an advanced, you know, ISA. And run that together and you know, do very well even with just, you know, 3 of you. So, you know, I think that them adding that to the game, I guess, you know, just for some bullet points is good, because that adds more versatility to how you can play the game, and the more versatility there is, in my opinion, is good because it gives you more options to have fun. And with that, though, brings more, you know, diversity in how you play the game. And, you know, some people are extremely against nanny runs. Others are against, you know, anything that's not solo, right? And so, you know, I've been experimenting with the solo stuff. My numbers are lower on that. Of course they are. This game is built for team play. It's an MMO, you know, when it comes to these TFOs. And when you build a ship for an elite or for a nanny or for PVE or for solo play, it's going to be a completely different build because they're completely different dynamics. And so, you know, I think the solo probably will demonstrate, you know, the extreme individual level of how good they are. And I think that's true. And, you know, I was watching 1-800 Broken Souls video on this. Is what kind of really prompted me to, you know, kind of think about this whole thing. And, you know, I think his points in it are good and well taken. The only thing I kind of take issue with is the attitude of, you know, people that are, you know, doing high DPS in a team. And there's probably a little more nuance to that, right? So people that are being dishonest or talking down to people, or, you know, making them feel like they need to buy all this stuff in order to get these kinds of numbers, and not really, you know, explaining or talking about the fact that, you know, this is a team run. Obviously, up until solos, all of them were team runs. That's just how the game was built. But, you know, really kind of going above and beyond in terms of explaining, you know, the composition of the team, right? And so, you know, we have a tank, we have someone that in the tank, in a lot of the runs we do, the tank does a little bit of the debuffing across the board. We'll have a control that groups things together, and then we'll have our 3 DPS. And like I said before, we're all just kind of competing for that damage. So I take what he said as more of, you know, because he was talking about some streamers and other people that were posting content, kind of lying, and I'm assuming he's kind of talking more about, you know, the people that are flaunting those numbers without any kind of explanation, or maybe being dishonest about that. You know, I really don't know, but you know, I don't see a problem with any of it, to be honest. You know, unless, you know, your sole purpose in life is, you know, those numbers on the charts, which I highly doubt, you know, most people that it is. But, you know, this is a game. We're here to have fun. And, you know, I just hate to see, you know, anyone getting upset about those kinds of things. With that being said, though, you know, if you're a content creator and you're making content and being dishonest and those kinds of things, and that's, you know, that's kind of a crappy thing to do. I haven't personally experienced that. I mean, a lot of that, too, is in the eye of the beholder in terms of how they view the game, right? And it's kind of a double-edged sword. We talk about this all the time as well. Star Trek Online is extremely complicated with a lot of layers, and there's just an endless amount of combinations and ways to go about playing the game. And with that comes also a ton of different perspectives on what people like to do or view as right or view as wrong. And, you know, that's their opinion. I have my opinion. I'm pretty, you know, liberal with that. I just don't care, you know, what you're doing. And I don't have any problem with that. So in any case, I just wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit. It's something I'm going to give more thought to, because when I make videos, I'm trying to make, most of the videos I make are for, the new player, entry level, mid tier, those kinds of things. And setting a baseline for people to kind of gauge what they're doing is important. But again, back to how complicated STO is, it's hard to do that. My baseline is going to be different from somebody else's baseline. And, that's when you can start getting these kinds of things where, people are viewing the way that somebody is presenting something in a negative way, when that's not necessarily their intent. And I know that there are those people out there that are just being, douchebags. I agree with that 100%. And you're going to find that with most games. But again, because of the complexity of Star Trek, and just the huge range in not just skill, but resources and what you have access to and the amount of time. I mean, the game's been out 11 years. The diversity in that is just massive. And inherently, that's going to cause, that kind of static between people that play the game one way or another. So I just wanted to kind of, I don't know, I guess I've been just kind of thinking about it over the past, day. And I just wanted to kind of, I don't know, I guess just think out loud to you guys, see what you guys thought, get your feedback. I'm going to be thinking about this a little bit more because, again, in the way that, I display the content that I do, the builds that I do, what the goals are, those all are measured against something. And generally, they're measured against the way I play the game and, what I like to do. And I think it's important as a content creator for me to try and think outside the box a little bit so that I can be as helpful as possible to as many people as I can. Because many of you are going to view these things differently. And so I think having a conversation about that is important. It's fun. That's why I do this. I do this because I like the game and I enjoy making these videos, and it's fun. I can forget about real life there for a little while and work and everything else and do this kind of stuff. So these little thought, processing games are a good distraction from, a crazy world we live in. So in any case, I don't want to keep on rambling, but I'm interested to hear what you guys think about that. And until next time, everybody, thank you for listening to my rant, and be safe. Have a good one. Bye-bye.